Donut Bag is brought to you by ExpressVPN. Your data is your business. Protect it with ExpressVPN. For 3 extra months free with a 1-year package, go to the link listed in my Twitter profile. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Donut Bag. This episode, I am talking hockey and the latest on the Penguins with my hockey buddies, Jen Chefero and Ashley Wright. And we're just wondering, what the heck is going on with the Penguins? They basically have done nothing. They lost more than they've gained. We don't know. We don't know if GM Ron Hextall is just being patient. We don't know what's going on. I don't like patience. I want things now. Even though the season doesn't start for another 2 months. But still, I want everything fixed now. Just a reminder to please vote for me for best Twitter account in Pittsburgh City Paper. I won last year, so I'm hoping to win again. When I won last year, I got a wrestling championship belt because I felt like I was the champion of Twitter. So if I win again, maybe I'll... Actually, I do have 2 championship belts. But anyway, I'm hoping for your votes. So please go to... just search for Pittsburgh City Paper, Best of Pittsburgh 2021 or something like that. And then there's a category called Best Twitter Account. So anyway, please vote for me. Anyway, here is my talk about the Penguins. Donut Bag starts right now. What the hell are they doing is my question. I'm in shock. I'm just really I know it's early.
So, Joe, what are you more in shock over? The fact that they really haven't done anything that screams Stanley Cup contender, or the fact that they really haven't done anything?
They haven't done anything. All they did was replace Tanev. That's it.
And that hurt. I'm still hurting over that. I need answers. I need to know why that happened. And McCann. I mean, but going back to this whole, like, what have they done? I will say I'm pretty excited for him again. There's an energy that he has. It could be good for Pittsburgh. But then again, chemistry is an issue that we have as a team, finding it and maintaining it. So, I mean, until we see him on the ice, can't really say much. But, like, Ron, like, what is he doing? Is he thinking, like, he wants to give the core, like, another go before, ripping it apart? Because, honestly, I have zero faith in Hextall at this point. Zero.
I want to echo Jen's sentiments on McGinn. I am very, very excited about that signing, especially considering his body. I think that he's a huge loss for Carolina. And just to touch on the fact that I do want to put things in perspective. You talk about how the Pens haven't done anything, and I agree. That is, besides signing McGinn, it's like, okay, they signed all of these bubble guys to 1 or 2 year contracts that are either 1-way or 2-way or a mix of both, depending on the term. And it's like, you feel like with all these short-term contracts that Hextall's not confident in what they have. But to make you feel better, the division rival Carolina Hurricanes got rid of 2 of their goalies. And they think that Freddie Anderson and Antti Ranta are their answers over Alex Nedeljkovic and Peter Mrazek. So just to put things in perspective.
So are you saying that other teams are also having issues and this is a work in progress?
Yes, absolutely. I still think, because you have to remember here, again, just to put things in perspective, while I agree that there is concern, remember the cap is stagnant and we're not going to see the increase for another year or 2.
Well, okay, here's what scares me. You're right. And because of the flat cap, we have seen some weird screwy things. Like players just being given away for nothing.
Yes.
Traded for nothing, basically gifts, basically just to clear cap space. From what I understand, as of the offseason, in terms of salary cap, and Lightning take note because you can't cheat anymore.
Correct. They know that.
You have to be maximum, I think 10% or above of the salary cap, or 10% below the salary floor. So there are actually 3 teams that are under the salary floor right now that would actually have to spend more money. But there are, I think, a few teams that are over the cap right now. So things are going to change. There will be some movement, but because of the flat cap, I am worried that not only are the Penguins going to they're going to make changes, but they may not make changes for the better. For example, they might want to get rid of Marcus Pettersson, maybe even Marino, maybe Zucker. Those are all high salary guys, but because of their high salaries, they might not get anything in return. So actually, this team might get worse before it gets better.
Correct. So I am looking at Cap Friendly right now. I like to cite my sources. Right now, as the roster stands, the projected cap hit is just over $79.5 million. They have $1.8 million in cap space as everything stands right now.
Yikes.
Yes. So to Joe's point, they would have to likely move a Jason Zucker or someone along those lines. Now, to put things in perspective, Zucker's cap hit is $5.5 million. He is the 5th highest paid player and the 4th highest paid forward.
That's insane.
Joe and Jen, to go back to your point about chemistry issues, especially you, Jen, you were the original person who brought this up. Zucker has had issues forming chemistry. In my mind, out of anyone who could potentially be traded, he would be the most expendable because they, traded for him at the deadline a couple of years ago. And I get that we've only had 2 kind of short-term looks, one with the COVID season and then this year with the shortened season. I know he's talented. I'm just having trouble figuring out where he permanently fits on this team.
Well, I don't think he does. I think he's the one that needs to go for sure. And I mean Pettersson too, because I think he's pretty much useless. Marino, on the other hand, I don't really want to see him go because he's still got some spunk to him. But yeah, Zucker, he's kind of like an energy sucker, like he takes away the energy in a sense rather than contributing to it. I feel like that's just a little awkward with him. And I mean, as much as a great guy he is, maybe, or I've heard, I just don't think he fits in the Pittsburgh Penguins brand, for lack of a better word.
It's not that he's a bad player. It's just that it's like you just said exactly. He's not a good fit. And as Jen has said many times, it's a lot of it is about chemistry. And you just don't know when you make these trades and when you get these people. Sometimes the chemistry might be awesome and sometimes it might suck. But yeah, Zucker gotta go, and that's my fear is either they'll have to retain salary to get anything back, or I don't know. We're just going to lose people. And then there's the other factor of Malkin. When's he coming back? How long is he going to be out? Basically, right now.
I heard like 20 games, 25 games.
That would be ideal. But
it depends on what Malkin we get when he comes back.
That's true.
A lot of aging players coming back from surgery aren't themselves. We've seen it with Letang. Mind you, he brought himself back to life, which was awesome. I hope we see that same Letang next season, but we don't know. Like when you have so many injuries and then you have these surgeries, like a level of fear sets in. And it happens too with adults just in general. Like as a kid, you love roller coasters and then suddenly you hate them as an adult because they're terrifying, right? The same kind of idea fits in hockey. When you have this fear of injury, it makes you not play your best because you have this fear that kind of creeps over your shoulder. You know what I mean? So with regards to Gino, like I mean, people are going to hate me for this, but I don't think he's the player he used to be. And I don't see him ever being the player he used to be. He's kind of been declining.
Okay. And that's the thing. He's, first of all, he's getting old. Second of all, he just had a major injury. Now I believe he's had knee injuries before. So, but still, he's getting old. But all these older players need to realize you can't be what you were 10 years ago. You have to adjust. You have to adjust your game. Crosby, I have no problem. I'm sure he will adjust his game. Same with Letang. I think he'll be fine. But Malkin scares me. Malkin can't do the things he did 10 years ago, and I hope he realizes that.
Yeah, no, I agree 100% with that sentiment. And also, too, I mean, if the Pens want to go for another cup with the main guys, I mean, you need to have a good mindset. And with Gino's injuries and Letang's injuries, I mean, there's got to have some open dialogue here on what they want, what they're willing to do, and what they're going to need to do, and so on and so forth. So at this point, it's mental. It really is.
Yeah.
And then the big question is, what's going on at goaltender? Have they either they've decided, oh, we're fine with Jarry and DeSmith, or they tried to make a move and couldn't. Now, when you're only 1 point whatever, million under the cap, you really can't do much anyway. However, there have been deals made for like certain goalies for like only like $1 million and stuff like that. So there were players out there to be had, but they've decided not to, or maybe.
I mean, couldn't we get Fleury for free?
There's no cap space for him. That's the problem.
I know.
The issue. Yeah,
I know.
Now, technically, I think they could have. Now, if you think about it, I think Fleury's salary was like $7 million.
I'll tell you right now, because I'm floating among all the teams. Okay, so Fleury's salary, if he's got 1 year remaining on his contract, $7 million.
Okay. So let's say they acquire Fleury for nothing, and if they're 1.8 million under the cap, that would put them 5.2 million over the cap, which is still allowed under the rules if you have 10%, because I believe the cap is like 80 million, something like that. So
it is 81.5.
So technically they could be 8 million over the cap right now. So technically they could have done it, but I don't think the Vegas owner wanted to trade Fleury to Pittsburgh for whatever reason, because I believe there was a deal in place like a year ago or something like that, and the Vegas owner refused. So
he just says, okay, here's Chicago. Here's the latest Vezina winner. Here's
a gift.
That whole thing does not make any sense to me. And I'm really upset about it, especially with all the allegations. I don't know if that's the right word, with the Chicago Blackhawks. I'm telling you, it was not an easy decision for Fleury to make.
For with
the coaching staff.
Right, the coaching staff and the GM, he should not even be.
I mean,
there.
Even the players, some of the players, Patrick Kane, Jonathan Taves. Like, if you read some of the court proceedings and the allegations, I mean, the players were all savvy. They were encouraged to be abusive.
We'll see what happens. We'll see what hopefully there's a legit investigation, and hopefully the NHL or the Blackhawks or whatever do the right thing, and let's just see how that all plays out. I mean, there's a lot of crap going on right now. That Evander Kane betting thing, hopefully that's nothing. Oh my goodness.
I mean that the Sharks don't want to play with them.
They don't want the Sharks don't want Kane. Interesting.
No, I mean the players, they don't want him back. They don't want to play with him. So
interesting.
Yeah.
But Fleury has agreed to play for Chicago, so I guess
he wants to play. And
and he has 7 million reasons to play also.
He's had a good couple of last seasons, right? So why wouldn't you want to play?
I think what he could have done was say, screw you, I'm not playing for you, and the Blackhawks could have traded him, I suppose, but anyway, that's unfortunately it sounds like the Fleury issue is done. But that's the thing now. We're basically I think he's just going to have to rely. If you want another goalie, you're going to have to rely on a trade. And okay, let's see what happens. But
I'm
what if
I'm looking at the list of remaining UFAs, and there are some goalies out there who could, provide support. I just don't know if Pittsburgh would, because this whole goalie, like, I'm looking at the UFA list right now. Tuukka Rask is a UFA. Devin Dubnyk, I believe, is a UFA. Anders Nielsen, Lundqvist and McElhinney are old as dirt, so forget about them. But I mean, someone like
however,
Rask,
hold on. Sorry to interrupt you, but these older goaltenders are kind of what we need if we bring one in and have them back one of the kids, or I call them the kids, one of our younger goalies, because they're going to teach you how. I think it'd be a better idea to bring in a more veteran goalie.
I think a Rask or a Dubnyk would be perfect because they're in their mid-30s, so we know they still have a couple of years left in them. Whereas, McElhinney's 38. And
could you imagine Henrik Lundqvist in a Pittsburgh Penguins jersey?
That would be mind-blowing. That would be amazing.
The whole entire fan base would implode. Okay, no, but I really don't see a situation where Lundqvist actually comes back, considering his health concerns that benched him this past season. So,
right.
If I'm Lundqvist, I call it. Like, I know you didn't accomplish what you wanted to, but you're a Hall of Famer. Okay, you're good. But I think a Devin Dubnyk or a Tuukka Rask would be very reasonable options.
Well, we already know Rask looks good in black and gold, so
there you go.
Would it be awkward? Yes, considering he was with Boston all these years. But I think either he or Dubnyk could both be assets. And let's face it, Dubnyk has been in their shoes where he was the up-and-coming goalie and had to fight tooth and nail for the starting job. So, I mean, both are very reasonable options, and, they can probably be signed on the cheap. I mean, the going rate for a backup goalie is around $1 million a year. So, we're going to see more movement. Okay. I'm just looking at this UFA list right now, and there are a lot of veterans on this list who I'm surprised have not been signed yet. So I feel like we're not done.
I hope not.
I'm saying in general.
Do you bring in a goalie to help Jarry, or do you bring in a goalie to replace Jarry?
I'd help. I think Jarry has some definitely got lots of potential there. And I think he needs a better mentor or a better goalie coach. To replace him, I don't know. Moving him back to backup could just completely demolish his confidence and ruin him forever. Yeah.
Do you know who else had problems in the playoffs earlier in his career and was benched for other players? Fleury? The boy that we just wanted. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, number 29 was benched multiple. Actually, number 29 was benched in 2013 for Tomas
Vokoun. Oh yeah,
Vokoun, who literally lived in oblivion as a Florida Panther and somehow beat the Penguins all the time, but yet couldn't beat anyone else, was the Penguins starting goalie in 2013.
Well, I think that the thing with goalies, and I mean, we've seen it before, is they mature later on in their career. And I don't mean mentally, but I mean their game matures after several years in the NHL. So seeing Fleury kind of born again over the past 4 years, it doesn't really surprise me because, it is a very difficult position to play mentally more than physically, because everything rides on you, right? Don't let the goals in. So for a goalie to have that maturity and come back in break out again later on in their career. It's not uncommon, and it's why I think the Pens would benefit bringing in a veteran goalie to help.
And that's why I think Tuukka Rask would actually be a great option, because Rask has been in a similar situation as late. He's already, he actually, he was not the starting goalie when Boston won their cup, but he has been in the cup final as a starting goalie. He's been benched, brought back to start. He's gone through that carousel. He understands the trials and tribulations. And I cannot believe I'm defending Tuukka Rask so much, but here I am.
That's how bad we need a goalie.
It makes me feel a little sick.
but the other thing is, you don't just need to be a good goalie. You need to be a good goalie in the Penguin system, and the Penguin system kind of leaves the goalie hanging out to dry a bunch of times. They do their odd man rushes, and they give up their odd man rushes. And then you're facing breakaways, and you're facing, 2-on-1s and 3-on-2s. So you got to be a little bit better than you were in other systems.
Yes. I feel like you have to be, there's a certain level of mental preparation in order to be a Penguins goalie, because of the speed and just the dynamics on the ice.
Yeah.
You can't trust your defense.
Yeah, basically. Speaking of defense, that is another issue. I've heard,
good Lord.
I've heard that, it's like, oh, Jim Rutherford really left this team in bad shape. Like, oh, look at all the things he did. But really, the couple of things he did was give a big contract to Marino and Pettersson and
Matheson.
Well, he traded for Matheson,
that's right.
Which was another weird thing.
That's still a heavy contract. That's still a heavy contract, though.
That is a heavy.
Keep in mind.
That is a heavy contract. So, it's this. You have this cap that has not moved, and then you have a couple of defensemen who, Marino hopefully will rebound, but I don't think Pettersson is a good fit on this team either, or at least not what they want. If they want to be bigger and tougher, it sure as heck ain't Pettersson.
No.
Yeah, no, I don't like him at all.
And then another thing we're relying on is Jeff Carter to be awesome. And he's 100 years old?
No, he just turned 102.
Okay. So he's 102 years old.
Yeah,
and...
no. Like it's crazy. I don't know what we're gonna see out of Carter. It was great what we got out of him in the playoffs in round one. Can we get that kind of performance from him in an 82 game plus season?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Good question.
So I want to make a point really quick. I know this is like a total, so people are probably looking for analogies of how do you describe the Pittsburgh Penguins roster as it is, okay? This is how I'm going to describe it. And if anyone's offended, I'm sorry, but not really sorry. So to all of you listeners, if you've ever watched the movie Major League, it is one of the greatest movies of all time. If you haven't seen it, I feel horrible for you. This roster reminds me of the opening day roster for Major League. A bunch of aging veterans going for their last go around, and then a bunch of no-name guys who you don't know what to do with.
Yeah.
It's not the most accurate comparison. There are some differences.
Well, okay, but in this case, the evil owner that wants to screw the team is actually the baseball team in Pittsburgh, not the hockey team.
That is correct.
Boom.
However,
Good job, Joe. Woohoo. All right. I just high-fived myself.
I am just waiting. I'm just waiting for the moment when a veteran pulls a Roger Dorn and takes the contract out of Lou Brown's hands and does something inappropriate to said contract.
Yeah.
I'm trying to keep it PG here.
I happen to think Major League 2 is a better movie, but I am weird.
I know that you and I have argued about this, and I'm not getting into that discussion. However, you and I can agree on the core.
But to your point, that's you have a good point. You have the core is old and it's getting older. What are you gonna do? You got Hextall has this amazing tightrope act to walk of between still being a contender and now looking for the future, which is not anything that Rutherford or Chefero had to worry about. Win now mode, trade draft picks. Well, now we can't do that anymore. So
There's
see.
nobody to trade. And Woodford, as you can tell, is very, very upset. Actually, he's really riled up because we're in the middle of home renovation. So that's a completely different ball game. But
does he not like when people are in the house? Because my dog wants to kill anybody that attempts to come into the house.
Oh no. He gets offended that people come to the house and don't say hi to him.
Oh, okay.
That is the number one rule of this house, is when you come to this house, you have to say hello to the three musketeers. So the two dogs and the cat. If you do not acknowledge them, they will forever hate you.
Yeah. Hey, I'm the same way. But
anyway, back to hockey talk.
So anything else we want to talk about? Because
yes. I think we should give a shout out to Sullivan for being named head coach of the Team USA.
Very cool. Yeah. Very cool. I hope
I am hoping he doesn't pull Bilesma.
What did Bilesma do? I mean, I know Bilesma. I know that the team was horrible under Bilesma. The USA team,
Bilesma's line combinations were absolutely terrible. So I just want to touch on Sullivan being named the head coach for a minute, okay?
Oh boy.
Because I have already gone through potential line combinations in my head, and if the NHL truly allows the players to participate, you would think that there would have to be training camp soon. Come on, dogs, it's fine. It's not that big of a deal. Here is a name I will be shocked to see on the roster, and that would be Phil Kessel.
Oh, there's some bad blood there.
Yeah, exactly. I would be absolutely shocked to see it. Let's put it this way. If Phil Kessel is left up, if I am Sullivan and the potential coaching staff and the front office, who's hopefully not David Poile, because David Poile can't run his own team. I know I'm going on a tangent here. Let me have this. David Poile better not be named the GM again, because I will flip a lid and know that they will finish in fourth place and not medal. If I am the GM, I am going young. I pull a 2010. I get a couple of veterans. Like in 2010, they got Langenbrunner, and there were a couple forwards who were veterans as well. Well, Langenbrunner was the big one, and then they had Rafalski, and then they had Tim Thomas. But I go young. Let's put it this way. I already have my goalies. Well, 2 out of 3. We already know it's going. And speaking of goalies, this is a great circle back here. So there have been rumors that one of the potential American goalies by the name of John Gibson has expressed interest of being traded to the Penguins.
Yeah, but I mean, I also want a pony. That doesn't mean it's going to happen. I mean, that's just a dream scenario.
It is a dream scenario considering he's a homegrown Yinzer. So it'd be a homecoming for him. So in this situation, there you go. You trade Jason Zucker and maybe Pedersen for John Gibson. I think that's a fair trade.
Yeah, I would not make that trade if I was the Ducks. But anyway, this USA lineup.
Bob Murray's stupid. Okay, I'm just putting it out there. He's been there for 10 years too long. He's an idiot. He might do it. Let's go back to the U.S. though.
The reason I brought it up before you guys go on about the lineups, because I haven't even dropped Canada's roster, and I mean, good luck. But going back to Sullivan, I think it's really great for him to get this job. He's been snubbed by the NHL awards for the whatever their coach's award is for the last 4 or 5 years. 5 years, yeah. And that's gotta hurt a little bit. You know what I mean? A little shot at the ego.
He deserves it. He
does deserve this, and I think I'm really excited to watch him lose to Canada. No, I'm just being.
That's why when I heard you talk about USA Hockey, it's like Jen wants us to lose, so this is not.
Well, let's face it. With the Americans, who were the options? You had Sullivan. You have John Hines, Todd Richards, John Cooper's technically eligible because he's dual, and you've got. That's the problem. I'm having trouble figuring out who else could do it.
Yeah, no, Sullivan deserves it, and
he absolutely does.
Right, Jen. He got robbed of a couple. His problem is it's like they say, well, of course you're good. You have Crosby and Malkin. And it's
but
like,
that's not easy. It's not easy to play with those two players. Look how many players we've gone through, how many different lineups we've gone through with those two players because they're not easy to play with. They are not easy to play with. So that coach, sorry, I'm getting heated because I hate seeing stuff like that. Oh, you got Crosby and Gino, like you can win anything. No, we can't. Have you not seen the last 4 seasons? And then like, I mean, people just they think because
ask Edmonton how easy it is to play with stars. You know, you don't
exactly.
And with all the injuries that the Penguins have dealt with, it's very impressive what Sullivan has done. But I'm looking at a U.S. lineup, and you could do
Austin Matthews, Jack Eichel,
Blake Wheeler, TJ Oshie,
Patrick Kane,
Patrick Kane. Oh goody, Pacioretty.
I don't know about Pacioretty, but I do think that their strongest point is going to be goaltending with Hellebuck and Gibson as kind of like a 1A, 1B type of thing. However, when you have flipping Andre Vasilevsky as your starting goalie in Russia and whatever carousel you're spinning in Canada as your starting goalie
Russia every time just has this amazing lineup and then they underachieve. And we all lose to Canada every year.
Don't worry, Russia is still going to fall flat on their faces. I'm just saying they at least improved slightly in the goaltending department, but they're going to have another dramatic moment where everyone fights and it's not going to matter. Now, Canada, on the other hand, like I said, they're going to spin the wheel and just point to somebody and say, oh yeah, you're our starting goalie. And oh yeah, we're going to win the gold medal regardless. That's how it's going to work with them. And we all know it.
Oh man, the projected roster is so disgusting. Like I had to wash my face after watching it. Like no, I had to go to the bathroom and wash my face. I felt so dirty. I'm like, this is gonna be a slaughter. But I mean, you never know. You never know. I mean, I'm not gonna just try and like ruin the Olympics for everyone. But underdogs come through. And...
I mean, here's your first line: Crosby, McKinnon, Stamkos. Here's your second line: McDavid, Scheifele, Mitch Marner. Come on,
it's not even fair.
John Tavares and Patrice Bergeron and Taylor Hall are in your fourth line. For God's sake, that's filthy. That's disgusting. And then here's your American team: Austin Matthews, Patrick Kane, Johnny Gaudreau. That's your first line. That would be like the fifth line on Canada's team.
Yeah, you got to rotate that first line. America's only going with 2 lines.
Yeah, that's
right, boys.
Well, what's going to be really interesting. So it was
on
funny.
A big rink.
I was looking back at like the 2016 World Cup of Hockey Madness, and I was like, oh my gosh, because all the American kids on the North American team should have been on the US team. I'm like, so that's the thing.
Dirty.
that's the thing you have to think about is like all those kids who are on the North American team are going to be split, right? And a lot of those guys are going to be on either the American or Canadian roster. So like for the Americans with Matthews and Eichel and, John Gibson and, oh shoot, I was just looking at the roster the other day, but I was looking at it top to bottom, like, oh man, the Americans may not be as screwed as I think they are. I'm like, they're still screwed, but not that much.
Okay, but I mean, do we know that that's a thing? Do we know that they're actually going to play in the Olympics?
Well,
it hasn't been
Bettman said that
100% confirmed.
Yes, they've left it in the schedule, open in the schedule. And Gary Bettman was quoted saying, "I did make a promise to the players." So I think it comes down to what like the owners
basically from February 2nd to the 23rd, there are no games. So that leaves you 3 weeks that you could you could do this. So it's doable. You're right. It's in the schedule. So we'll see what happens. I just remember how extremely awkward it was in 2010 when Crosby scored the golden goal, and then they have to get on. I think and then they get on a plane.
They played the Sabres the next day, and I was at that game, and booing Sidney Crosby at the Igloo was one of the most hilarious moments. Did everybody
boo?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, how weird is that?
So Fleury got like a golf clap. Lindy Ruff got a golf clap. Brooks Orpik got a nice ovation, and Ryan Miller got the grandest of all standing ovations I have ever seen in my life. So
Crosby beats Ryan Miller for the championship,
for the gold,
and then he faces them the next game.
Well,
I remember
the Penguins won that game 3-2, and Ryan Miller did not play, so don't put any jokes. But what was really funny was like just that whole thing, like there was this weird energy in the arena, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna boo Crosby. Is anybody else? And then he skates out and people just erupt in boos. It was just
how weird is that? How weird is that?
Gosh.
I do remember hearing a story that like all the Olympic athletes were coming back, and out of respect, because there were Americans and Canadians on the flight, I think out of respect, Crosby didn't, I think, wear his gold or something like that, just didn't want to rub it into the Americans.
Yeah, what a nice.
Also, maybe he was afraid somebody would check him or something like that. I don't know.
Well, and you figure Brooks Orpik was on the flight, so his Penguins teammate and such. But that whole thing was so funny. I'm like, okay, people, do the right thing and give Ryan Miller some love. I'm like, just do it this one time, And man,
it's
that is the proudest
dynamic.
That is the proudest that Pittsburgh fans ever made me. I'm like, I got a little emotional about it. I'm not gonna lie.
Speaking about ESPN, you brought up ESPN, and I've never been a fan of their hockey coverage, but today they got a solid win from me hiring John Tortorella as an analyst.
Yes, they did.
Boy, I think that's going to be interesting as heck. I think it's going to be fun. I think it's exactly what they need, because he's going to shoot from the hip. Do either of you watch Ted Lasso?
Yes.
No.
Okay. So Ted Lasso is about this coach that knows nothing about soccer, and he was named a coach of a soccer team. Anyway, one of the stories was there was this older player that had to realize that he was too old. No, his name was not Evgeny Malkin, but he had to retire. And then he didn't know what he was going to do with his after he played. And they said, well, why don't you try to be an analyst? So, and he's like a kind of a gruff guy. So he's in the studio, and they're talking about some soccer match. And they said, what do you think of this? This is your former team. And he's like, well, I think I play like shit. And he was just going totally off the cuff and totally, was swearing and just was totally like colorful and gruff. And I have a feeling that's what Tortorella is going to be. I have a feeling he's just going to be awesome in this role. Totally colorful. Just tell it like it is.
gonna be perfect.
That's exactly what
I hope so, because Chris Fowler as the host of the expansion draft did not impress me at all. He concerned me. He was terrible. Dominic Moore and Kevin Weeks absolutely bailed him out of complete embarrassment.
No offense, but what the hell is the college football guy talking about hockey for?
Well, so apparently they decided to use him over Buchagras or Steve Levy was because Fowler's experience in hosting big events as a whole.
Okay,
so they're
that's really dumb. I hope they learn their lesson and just put Bucci in there because he's awesome.
Yeah, because Bucci wound up doing the draft coverage, thank goodness. But I mean, Fowler, like off the bat, called them the Las Vegas Golden Knights. He called he mixed up the Carolina Hurricanes and Florida Panthers and called them the Carolina Panthers.
Oh, that's that whole thing that happened on Twitter. Now that makes sense. There was a whole logo changing.
Yeah, and then there was something else, because I wound up turning off the expansion draft because every single prediction was correct, and I was ticked off. And
I mean, it was absolutely ridiculous because we all knew what was going to happen. We knew earlier that day all the players that were gone. It was really stupid.
Yeah. And there was, I think it was the New York Post who kind of posted like, all the predictions from different sources, and every single prediction was correct.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. But yeah, Woodford agrees. All right, guys. I think we're done. Thank you again.
Thanks for having me and Ash.
Thanks for having us.
Always love talking to you guys. All right. We'll see if things get quiet or they pick up. We'll see. I have a feeling something's going to happen in the next month. I have a feeling it's going to be. Yeah, it better happen. You're right.
Give it time.
Okay,
have a good night.
Thanks so much, guys. Okay.
All right, bye.
Bye.